So, warm welcome here in our studio in Serakunda. This is Star TV News with me, Dado Cham. In the headlines tonight, number of coronavirus cases in the Gambia peaks to 12. Parry Foundation donates rice and sugar to Joswan prison. We trust our colleague until proof to the contrary. Reveal Basiru Sen, Senegalese ambassador to the Gambia. On the international scene, Nigeria braces for the further oil cuts as COVID-19 crisis curbs oil demand. Mali Constitutional Court confirmed election results. Those were the headlines, and now the news in details. The number of cases has reached 12. The acting director of Health Services revealed to the media during the daily press briefing held in the Ministry of Health in Banjul. However, the Director of Health Services highlighted the country's situation on the COVID-19 as revealed the ministry's next agenda on the coronavirus.
This is the 39th National Situation Report since the confirmation of the first case of the novel coronavirus disease in the Gambia on the 17th of March 2020, when the country reported the first COVID-19 case. Another new laboratory-confirmed COVID-19 case has been recorded. The said case was reported to the response team through the 1025 toll-free number by virtue of her exhibiting symptoms similar to those of COVID-19. She has no travel history to an affected country, and she has no history of contact to any confirmed case. Out of the 22 new laboratory test results received, 1 tested positive and the other 21 were negative. 14 new persons taken into quarantine, 6 of whom were close contacts of the newly confirmed case. 15 persons discharged from quarantine after testing negative for COVID-19 upon completion of mandatory quarantine. 101 low-risk contacts being regularly followed up to ascertain manifestation of symptoms of COVID-19. So the country currently has 76 persons under quarantine, 3 active cases, and no probable case. Globally, since the 31st of December 2019 and as of 29 April 2020, a total of 3,216,353 cases of COVID-19 have been reported. Of these, 227,894 deaths were registered and 999,217 recovered from the disease. Senegal recorded 882 confirmed cases, 319 recoveries, and 9 deaths. Currently, we have 76 people on quarantine. A total of 502 tests were conducted and 12 are positive. 312 people completed quarantine, 654 contacts traced, and 310 people completed follow-ups.
The Parry Foundation on Thursday donated 50 bags of rice, 50 bags of sugar, and 4 wash hand buckets to Joswan prison in support of the fight against COVID-19. Our reporter Mariama Dem has the rest of the story.
The foundation has done a lot for the country since their establishment in 2010 in the Gambia. The CEO of the foundation, His Excellency Kenneth Jackson, says the foundation decided to render support to the prison system because prisons are always overlooked, especially in hard moments. He also promised to build a skills block for the prisoners.
The reason for the intervention today is to provide support for the prison systems. A lot of times when things are going on, the people in the prison systems are overlooked or forgotten about. So we wanted to provide some food stuffs for them, some since hand washing is one of the focuses now, we bring some buckets for hand washing. But primarily prisons, especially a facility like this that's interested in rehabilitation, there's several elements that are required for effective rehabilitation, the first of which is food. And so our reason for meeting with them is to find out the other constraints so that we can do other things to support them, to help facilitate the prisoners so that ultimately when they get out of here, they have skills and other things so they don't have to come back. And that's the main reason for our intervention today.
He further noted that this gesture is part of their ways in commending the officers for their good job and encouraging the inmates to develop themselves before getting out.
I'll say this goodwill gesture is a part of our encouragement, and we commend the officers on doing a good job, and we encourage the inmates to take advantage of their time in, develop themselves so that when they get out, they don't have to come back. They can be positive, make positive contribution to society at large.
The Deputy Director General of the Joswang Prison, Modu Jaju, expresses gratitude and shows appreciation upon receiving the donation for the fact that people out there are noticing the struggles the prisons are facing and decide to render support. He says that the food items will take them a long way and describes the donations as a great gesture.
In the feeding of the inmates to honestly take us a long way, because as you know, a hungry person is an angry person. So once we have this the support from these people, I think we have a very peaceful environment in which troubles we will have an area where we have trouble free. Because once you eat until your satisfaction, I don't think you will think about any other thing that will be harmful to our processes. So I think it's a very good thing.
He finally thanked the donors and urges others to emulate Perry Foundation in developing the country and render support to the prison systems to improve their working conditions, as the government alone cannot do it. Perry Foundation is a self-funded organization established in 1976, primarily concentrating on the intervention in the development of the African continent and other parts of the world. Mariam Adem, reporting for Star TV News.
In a press release sent to media houses on the COVID-19 emergency relief, government reduces fuel prices significantly. The press reads, "The public is hereby informed that the Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs, in line with the Gambia's government policy of mitigating the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on lives and livelihood, has made the biggest ever reduction of the domestic retail prices of the fuel in the Gambia. Effective 30th April 2020, the retail prices of fuel throughout the Gambia is as follows. Petrol, $4 per liter from $49.36 butus per liter, a reduction of $9.36 butus. Diesel, $43 per liter from $50.04 butus per liter, a reduction of $7.04 butus. Kerosene, $30 per liter from $41.36 butus per liter, a reduction of $11.35 butus. The goodwill gesture is aimed at ameliorating the cost of fuel on transport operators in light of the presidential directive to limit the passengers' capacity of commercial vehicles. Since February 2020, the government has made a cumulative reduction of $12.62 butus, 25%, $11.94 butus, that is 23%, and $19.23 butus, 44%, on the price of petrol, diesel, and kerosene respectively. Similarly, the Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs, in collaboration with the Ministry of Higher Education, Research, Science and Technology, is pleased to announce a $29.1 million student relief package for Gambian students abroad. $12,915,880 has been allocated to benefit 836 non-governmental funded students, while $16.2 million will go to the government-funded scholarship package. The relief package is designed to support the feeding and sustain of both government-funded and non-governmental funded Gambian students around the world. The Ministry of Higher Education, Research, Science and Technology will administer the package on behalf of the government. The release ends. General Growth Properties Company donated 50 bags of rice to the Kunkujang Keteya community compound heads as part of steps to complement the government's effort in the fight against COVID-19 on Thursday. Our reporter Maria Madam covered the presentation and she now reports.
The marketing manager of the General Growth Properties, Bakari Kamara, describes the initiative as a great gesture and says that as a company, they deemed it necessary to help the needy people and contribute in national development, especially during this COVID-19 pandemic.
It is indeed a great idea, to come up with this initiative of buying 50 bags of rice and then to help the needy people of Kunkujang Keteya. As we all know that COVID-19 coronavirus, it is affecting the whole world. And then in the Gambia as a company, to contribute into national development, we came up with this idea of buying bags of rice to donate it to the needy people, because most of the people are in trouble due to this coronavirus. That's why the company bought 50 bags of rice to donate it to the needy people of Kunkujang Keteya. This is the least that we can do. I wish every Gambian who is better should also assist those in need. So that's why, as a company, General Growth Properties, we are thanking Ya Allah for giving us at least, the little we have to share it with the people of the community of Kunkujang Keteya. It is a great idea, and I believe Ya Allah will reward General Growth Properties as a company and then the whole community of Kunkujang Keteya. This is the least that we can do. Though it is small to us, but to Allah it is something big. You understand? This is the list that we could do. So,
another member of the company, Babu Karanget, says they came up with the donation idea to support compound heads in order for them to stay home and stay safe during this COVID-19 pandemic.
This idea is to help all the compound heads to stay at home to fight spread against this coronavirus. As we know, the virus is a killer disease, and this is a pandemic to the whole world. And we all know it's affecting both the business and also family members. So we come up with the idea and the interest to support the regional task force in mobilizing the resources. So these are the bag of rice that we're going to distribute to all of the families, members surrounding this community. Thank you very much.
The beneficiaries shows appreciation and gratitude and further thank the donors for the great gesture. The rice was distributed among compound heads immediately. The donors believe that the rice will support the compound heads to stay home during the state of emergency and control the spread of the deadly virus COVID-19. Maria Madem for Star TV News.
Bassirou Sen, Senegalese ambassador to the Gambia, reacted to the rape case that involved a diplomat from the Senegalese embassy. The affair is chronic news in the Gambia and the controversy swell. That can the consular authorities do not clear the situation? Can this case tarnish the image of Senegalese diplomacy? For the ambassador, the precautions of the innocent must prevail. And until proven to the contrary, the belief, the words of his implicated colleague who swept this allegation. The diplomatic representation is awaiting the conclusion of the investigation before being able to rule. Amadou Bari reports.
Honestly, I don't think that an isolated case can sully the Senegalese diplomacy, which is known for its performance and professionalism. It is a Senegalese citizen who is assigned to the embassy with a diplomatic passport with the rank of second secretary who is accused. We can only stick to his statement. He solemnly assures that he has no direct contact with the girl, with the presumption of innocence. He is a Muslim adult. We are in the month of Ramadan. We believe him until proved to the contrary. He was arrested and taken into police custody. It was for the purposes of the investigation and it is understandable. But the next day, we asked for his release because his status did not allow him to stay longer in these conditions. The Vienna Conventions on Diplomatic Relations stipulates that these agents enjoy immunity from execution and from jurisdictions. The investigation is currently ongoing. We are awaiting the conclusions of this investigation, and we will notify Dakar to find out what to do. But for now, we are reassured by the declaration of our colleague. We think that he is right. We trust him until there is evidence that he is wrong.
And now the news beyond our borders. African largest oil producer, Nigeria, rely heavily on oil revenue for its economic, but the huge surplus its global supply is causing further damage. Jazila Ahmed Idris report from the Nigeria's capital, Abuja.
It's been a particularly difficult year for Nigerians whose oil-dependent economy is struggling. Low prices and cuts in production resulted in huge losses of revenue. But more worrying for Africa's biggest producer is the damage the current glut will do. With few storage facilities, the options for Nigeria, like many small and medium-sized producers, is to give away its oil or shut down some wells.
What we are facing today is an unprecedented glut. Nobody has ever seen taking 2 billion barrels into storage within 2 weeks. It has never happened. What it means is that even when countries come back to work, there will be so much supply that the demand cannot compensate for that.
Revenue shortfalls from oil have already forced the Nigerian government to consider an almost 40% cut in this year's spending estimates.
It's really a devil's alternative for companies. That if I shut down, can I bring back the wells? If I can't bring back the wells, what happens next? So you're better off paying off somebody to take the crude over. But that's not a permanent situation.
The current cost of producing a barrel of oil in Nigeria is about the same as the market price, something producers and experts say isn't sustainable for a long period.
Nigeria's oil company, the NNPC, says it's engaging its joint venture partners, the oil companies, to see how they will further cut production. The country's current output is 1.4 million barrels of oil a day. And as producers desperately look to shore up prices, it's also possible that Nigeria will be forced to make further cuts.
Experts warn that the current instability in the oil market is set to further damage the economy. Nigeria imports a significant amount of consumer goods, including refined petroleum products.
The ability to fund the foreign exchange market will also be limited, and that will automatically translate into the valuation of the naira relative to other internationally convertible currencies, and that will automatically transmit into higher prices for imported goods, and that will significantly reduce the standard of living of an average Nigerian.
A bleak forecast that could even get worse if the current market shock continues for a long time. Ahmed Idris, Al Jazeera, Abuja.
Mali Constitutional Court has confirmed the results of the legislative election, the second round of which was held in April. President Ibrahim Boubacar Keita's party has won the most seats in parliament, but not an outright majority. The coronavirus pandemic and a threat from armed groups lead to the record low turnout. Jazila Nicholas reports.
Celebrating his victory is first-time candidate and newly elected MP Ousmane Sangaré. As member of the opposition, Sangaré says time has come to finally confront the failures of Mali's ruling party.
Politics is not going well in Mali. MPs don't do what they are supposed to do. Our elected officials have failed to represent us. This will now change.
Up until now, President Ibrahim Boubacar Keita's party, Rally for Mali, was unchallenged, in control of the parliament for the past 7 years, after the president cancelled elections twice on the grounds of insecurity. Despite more attacks from armed groups and the coronavirus spreading, the elections went ahead in April.
Second round went ahead as normal for most of Mali, despite disruption from terrorist groups in certain areas.
The president's party won most of the seats, but failed to achieve an outright majority. Among the winners is Mohamed Ould Matali, under UN sanctions for his involvement in organized crime and association with armed groups. Matali won as a ruling party member in Gao. Another winner, opposition leader Soumaïla Cissé, he won in Mali's central region despite being held in captivity by armed groups who kidnapped him during his campaign. While no one has claimed responsibility, his family suspects militia groups close to the government for his abduction. The government blames an Al-Qaeda affiliate. That group and the Islamic State in the Greater Sahara called for a boycott of the vote, attacking polling stations, military outposts, and threatening the population. Filmed on mobile phone, an armed group using stolen military vehicles seen patrolling a village in Mali's central region, where the Malian army is retreating. Fearing attacks and the coronavirus, few Malians came out to vote, with a record low turnout of 23%. Newspaper vendor Maiga Mohammadin believes the real winners of this election are armed groups.
We are being held hostage. Mali is in the hands of armed groups. They have surrounded us. They have destroyed villages. They are killing population and forcing people from their homes. They have destroyed people's food reserves. I fear them more than anything else, including the novel coronavirus.
4 million Malians are in urgent need of humanitarian assistance, many of them displaced. It's become Sangare's new job to not only represent them, but to hold a government to account that has so far failed to bring peace to Mali. Nicholas Hawke, Al Jazeera.
An agreement among the world's major oil producers to cut output comes into effect on Friday. It follows a collapse in global oil prices suppressed by the slump in demand because of the coronavirus pandemic. It seems the deal may have only happened because U.S. President Donald Trump reportedly pressured Saudi Arabia, implying that the United States may withdraw military support. Al Jazeera Osama bin Javi reports.
Oil and water do not mix, but politics and oil bond very well. There is no official transcript of the conversation between the US president and the Saudi crown prince, which resulted in Saudi Arabia's latest oil production cut. Reports suggest President Donald Trump told Mohammed bin Salman that US forces stationed in the kingdom could be withdrawn if Saudi Arabia did not stop flooding the market with cheap crude. Within days, Riyadh announced production cuts and ended its oil price war with Russia. OPEC and G20 members, including Kuwait and Norway, have already announced cuts in output. But questions still remain over compliance. The US president has taken credit for the nearly 10 million barrel cut by oil producers, which comes into effect on Friday.
I think I got them to cut maybe, what would you say? I would say, well, they say 10 million, but I think it's 15 million barrels. I even heard 20 million.
Saudi Arabia and Russia's failure to agree on price stabilization led to a 31-day price war, which has resulted in a massive oversupply of crude. That, combined with the coronavirus shutdown of the world's major economies, provided a perfect storm. For the first time in history, traders were paying to get rid of oil stocks after storage ran out, and US crude futures dipped to a record minus $40 a barrel. The International Energy Agency estimates global storage capacity could be full by mid-June. With a powerful lobby and nearly 1 million US hydrocarbon sector jobs at stake, it's now an issue of national security for the United States.
We're also exploring potentially having the ability to store another several 100 million barrels. So we're looking at lots of different options. We're in touch with lots of people around the world, and the President is determined that we protect the national security interest and the job.
With flights grounded, no one driving, and factories closed, analysts estimate the demand gap is in excess of 30 million barrels. Even though some restrictions are slowly being lifted, the energy market is gloomy. On positive projections, international oil price is estimated to average around $35 a barrel, while the US price is expected below $20, a drop of 60% compared to last year. Major firms such as Royal Dutch Shell are readjusting. Shell cut its dividend for the first time since World War II. Norway, Western Europe's biggest oil and natural gas producer, wants to ease tax rules for oil firms to prevent a drop in investment. There is the short-term benefit for oil consumers. The European Central Bank says inflation has declined due to the sharp fall in oil prices. But slowing growth, global job losses, and declining industry coupled with falling oil production doesn't bode well for the global economy. Osama bin Javed, Al Jazeera.
And before we end the news, a recap of our main headlines. Number of coronavirus cases in the Gambia peaks to 12. Party Foundation donates rice and sugar to Newsroom prison. We trust our colleague until proof to the contrary revealed, Basiru Sen, Senegalese ambassador to the Gambia. Nigeria braces for the further oil cuts as COVID-19 crisis coops oil demand. Mali Constitutional Court confirms election results. That's all for this edition of the news. Please enjoy the rest of our programs and join us for tomorrow's news. Thank you for watching.